This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
With her, I've learned that heaven is just a conversation away. That's what we're calling this podcast. She is a certified psychic medium. She has done readings for me. I'm skeptical. I've worked with a lot of psychics. I'm going to be honest. Blew me away so much, in fact, that I still tell people about our reading. That was a couple of weeks ago. I did last night. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm still processing some of the stuff that came through, which was completely legit. But the processing part of it for me is how and why that came up. And it was completely validated. I am talking about our professional of the year, Connie Fusella, joins us once again on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm terrific, Steve. How are you?
Very well, and interested to dig into what we're going to talk about today, and that is angels in the material world. I guess that's how I would frame that. And
Right.
like so many questions, I'm sure we've all wondered about those spirits around us. Do they exist? Those signs we've talked about before, and all of that. Angels. What is an angel? Let's go there. I guess we might
Yeah,
have our own definition or perception of that.
right. Well, to me, my perception of an angel is a being that's been, extremely enlightened, a very high vibration, someone that is a guide, a protector, looks out for you, keeps you on your true spiritual path. So that's my sort of view of what an angel is. And I believe that angels or spirit helpers or guides are with us in our everyday lives. And I always tell people, really think about the people that you've encountered in your life when you're in certain situations. Maybe a random stranger came into your life when you didn't expect it, right? And helped you, or somebody was a mentor to you that you didn't expect come into our lives for reasons, whether it's for a couple minutes, a couple weeks, or a couple of years. But these are spirit helpers, these are guides or angels, if you will, that sort of walk among us.
Hmm. Are we to assume that they're here to protect us
Absolutely. And guide us,
and guide us?
guide us on our true path of what our soul's true destiny is.
So that being said, I have heard that we have, I'm trying to verbalize what they are, but I'll call these entities
Mhm.
in our lives around us. And this is very recent that I heard things a few months ago, I call it 6 months ago. And I actually laid in bed and I asked them to reveal themselves. And I've heard from others that they've done this and they've gotten things, even, and I'll go a little bit deeper here, Archangel Michael, right?
Mhm.
Who is the protector, I believe, like the
Right.
supreme protector. Somebody once told me recently that he revealed himself, but with a different name. Just one example. So I laid in bed. I'm like, just reveal yourself. I want to know your presence. I've done it a few times so far. Once I fell asleep, so maybe I could have missed it. Um,
Right.
am I doing the right thing?
Absolutely. I don't know if they'll actually reveal themselves to you. I think a lot of the times it's something that's hindsight, right? When and I feel that they come to us in our moment of need, right? When we need that helping hand, we need that leg up, we need to get pointed in the right direction, we needed to get lifted up. That's when I think these helpers come into our lives. And yes, they will go by different names. There's always going to be, in my opinion, some sort of synchronicity that you will realize that sort of pertains to you, that relates to maybe the person that comes into your life. Is it okay if I share a story about my personal experience, which I believe an angel was helping me here on earth?
I would love to hear it.
Okay, great. So, years ago, I was going through a lot of soul evolution, and I was going through a very difficult time proceeding with a divorce. And I had two small children at the time, under the age of 6. And so it was summer break, and the kids came where I worked. They had a summer program. So I brought the kids, there to a little camp where I worked. And then we'd go to the cafeteria every morning and get breakfast. It was the kids love that. And then one day, as I was waiting on the coffee line, this gentleman appears, and he's one of the cafeteria staff. And he's like cleaning the counter, and he looks at me and he says, "Good morning, Miss Connie." And he had like this gravelly sort of a little bit of a southern drawl. He was an African American man, I would say, in his mid 50s. He was all dressed in white. He had a white, work shirt rolled up at the sleeves, and a white, what do you call that? Like a cleaning apron, white pants. And he had a cap. So I couldn't tell if he had hair, a white, cafeteria cap. And he always said to my boys, "Oh, you've got a great mom. Listen to your mom. She knows what's best for you." So, every morning for a few weeks, I'd go through this routine, take my kids to the cafeteria, we'd get breakfast, and I'd see this gentleman here. And I noticed on his little name tag, his name was Robert. And he always addressed me as Miss Connie. And every day he had something uplifting and kind to say to me. Just keep positive. Good times are around the corner. You're a great mom. Keep doing what you're doing. So I was looking forward. Every morning I knew I was going to get my coffee and I'd see Robert there. He brightened my day. He just really lifted my spirits. So, all of a sudden, one day I go to get my coffee and I bring the kids there, and Robert's not there. So I'm like, okay. So days go by and I don't see Robert anymore. So I start asking some of the cafeteria help, like, hey, what happened to that gentleman, Robert, that used to work here? And nobody seems to know what I'm talking about. Strange, right? I'm like, okay. So I never saw Robert, for a while. And then I went on with my life. I proceeded with going through my divorce. I was making some positive changes in my life, trying to get myself on track. And so a few years later, I ended up having an allergic reaction. Imagine me, right? Having allergic reactions again. And so I could feel my throat closing, and this was an allergic to M&Ms, believe it or not, the dye in the M&Ms. But I knew the
What?
deal. Yeah,
And by the
yeah.
way, for anybody that doesn't know, this is a woman that has passed and come back three times.
Right.
Three
Yeah.
times.
From
Yeah, just
allergic
just
reactions.
figured I'd just
Right.
throw that in there. She's, this is she's been around the block there. Dyes and M&Ms. Oh,
Right.
I never heard that
Right.
one. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of knew the drill. So, I called the ambulance and called my mom, my parents. I said, come, stay with the kids so I could, they're taking me to the hospital. So I get to the hospital and I'm fine. I got there in time. And like I said, they gave me the medication and I know I just have to sit there, right, and have everything take effect. So I'm sitting here in the bed. I'm in a private, room, and the door's closed. And then there's a knock on the door. And I said, come in. And the door opens. And believe it or not, it's Robert, Robert from the cafeteria. A couple of years later, I'm in a different city in a hospital, and Robert appears in my doorway. And I look at him and I said, Robert, and he's like, "Hey, Miss Connie," in that same gravelly, voice, looks exactly as I remember. It's only been a couple of years. But I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I was just checking on you and I can see that you're okay. So, basically I'll be on my way." And he waves and he leaves. And so, of course, I'm just befuddled, right? I'm laying there saying, what in the heck is going on? Like, what was that all about? So my mind is just like spinning, like, this is really crazy. So my parents come to pick me up. And on the way home, I start telling this story about Robert. Now I saw him in the cafeteria and, never saw him. Nobody ever heard about him. And then here he is. He appears in my doorway. And I said, I really think he was an angel. I think he was sent here to help me, like in my most darkest time, what I was going through, during that divorce. He was there and he lifted me up and he gave me hope. And then here he is coming in to check on me. And so my mother just looks at me and she says, "Oh, well, that's really interesting." And she said, "You know, I had a miscarriage before you were born." and it was a little boy, and his name was Robert. So,
Wow.
right?
Okay. My head is like,
Right? It's unbelievable. Yeah,
uh, um, uh, do you think that Robert is that Robert, or it's
I
just a?
do. I do. And I feel like, like his spirit basically through this man, so to speak, right? And since I found out about that, I've had readings or I've had, through meditation, I do feel my brother's presence around me as a protector, as a guide. But I had never known about him before.
Um, wow. Why was Robert in the other city when you were in the hospital and that whole situation? Like, what was the logistics that brought him there? Did you ever
I
find
really
out?
think I didn't, but I just think it was again, I was in, a moment of need. I was still going through these, issues with divorce and things like that. And I just think it was like a friendly face, like I'm just making sure you're okay. And he's like, I can see you're okay. It was almost like I felt like coming back after a couple years, like are you doing all right? You went through a lot, are you okay? And he was like, I can see you're okay. So, basically I'll be going my way. So very,
Um,
very strange.
don't you wonder though? Like, I would wonder, like, how, again, I'm not, I believe everything here. There's not even a doubt based on my experience with you. Um, I just would want to know, like, why are you here? Like, what brings you here out of, and then at my hospital room door, whatever it was. Um,
Yeah, I think it's like I said, that's what helpers do. They come in your moment of need, they come to support you. And so keep in mind, I was not a medium yet at this point. Okay.
hmm,
So now, it was almost like, he had to manifest in a way for me to say, there's somebody there, there's somebody looking out for me, there's somebody protecting me, and now I know as a medium I can connect with him, I feel his presence, but I wasn't at that place yet in my
right.
life.
Okay. My first thought was, was he really there? Or was this just in your mind or a vision that you might have had at that moment of challenge? He was definitely there, correct?
He was definitely there. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Um, it
My
goes,
kids saw him too, so my kids saw him too. Yeah.
for me, it goes back to people are in your life for a season or a reason. Do you believe that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, it could be a couple seconds, it can be a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have another story. Can I go into that, or you tell me?
Go right ahead.
All right, perfect. So this had to do with my first premonition. And so again, my kids were younger. I was a single mom at the time, and they used to play hide and seek in the house. So of course, my youngest, Anthony, was like three or four at the time. He always, hid in plain sight. You always knew where he was. He was either behind the couch, under the kitchen table, or in a closet. You knew where he was.
Hmm.
But my oldest Nick was really good about it. Always pretended he didn't see him right away. So they're playing hide and seek. I'm doing dishes in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, I see, my oldest Nick running back and forth, and he's looking like he's frantic. And he's like, Mom, I can't find Anthony. I can't find Anthony. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I mean, the door's locked. I'm like, there's not too many places he can be. He's like, I checked all the places. He's not there. So I go into the living room. And as I'm walking into the living room, all of a sudden, this terrible, terrible feeling comes over me. And it brings me to my knees. I fall to the floor and I can't even describe this feeling, Steve. I can't even tell you. It was just so down and despair and panic and worry and grief. Everything was just all at once hitting me. And I started to cry and I started to scream out for Anthony. So of course my kids probably think I'm crazy at this moment, but then Anthony comes running out. He was hiding in the bathtub of all places, right? New place for him. So he
Oh my gosh, she just froze on the video. I'm not even.
Florida State Fair.
Okay, wait, hold on one sec. Hold on
Yeah.
one sec. You froze. This
Okay.
never happened before, but I'm just going to interject here that this happens a lot with people like you. It's the energy. I'm a billion percent convinced. So you left off bathtub.
He was hiding in the bathtub, which was a new place for him. And so he came running out. And of course, I hugged him, kissed him, and then we laughed about it. And I thought, how weird. And I just kind of, didn't think anything of it. So a couple weeks later, we had plans to go to the Florida State Fair. So we go to the fair and we're, walking around, we're doing all the stuff, petting the animals on the rides. Kids are right next to me. We go, the kids wanted to do the rock climbing exhibit. So I'm standing with them at the counter, asking the person how long of a wait. He says about 10 minutes. I'm signing him up. I turn around and Anthony is gone. Gone. A 4-year-old missing at the Florida State Fair. So, right.
Mm,
And so that horrible, horrible feeling that I experienced of can't find Anthony a couple weeks prior was exactly what was happening again. I fell to the ground and those same feelings flooded me, and I started screaming for him. We found a policeman who, took my oldest son with him. And then I started, running through the crowd, screaming, looking for him. And so this went on for a good 15, 20 minutes. Of course, it felt like years, right? You lose a child, that is pretty bad. So I'm running through these crowds, screaming his name. And then all of a sudden, I feel like a hand on my shoulder from behind. And I stop and I turn around. There's nobody there. And so I just turn my head and I look, and there's an elderly woman with a stroller with like a toddler in it. And I look right at her. She looks at me and I go walking towards her and I say, "Did you see a little boy?" And I, just grab my son. And she said, "Yes, my daughter just took a boy matching that description to the local police station at the fair." And so I was like, "Oh my God." So I went running to the police station. And sure enough, there's my son eating cookies, drinking juice, like nothing ever happened. And he was there safe. And so, I have to ask myself, what kind of presence, what kind of higher power, what kind of angel or helper touched
mm.
me on the shoulder, made me stop as I'm running frantically through thousands and thousands and thousands of people at the Florida State Fair to look directly at the one person who could tell me where my son was.
Wow. And this, for me, is a reminder for all that we need to look at these situations because, maybe in the throw of the moment, many might not see what's going on here. There's a lot going on here. And
Yeah,
can I share one really quick?
absolutely.
In your life for a season or a reason. So I want to get a frame here on the time. 22. 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, um, I was just dating someone. It was kind of, she was kind of all over the place, but it was interesting, and it came at a time, where the timing was good, and I supported her in ways, and she supported me, and it was only like 6 months. Halfway into it, I needed to get radiation for skin cancer, and actually on my face, it's all healed. You can't even see it really.
No,
Um,
yeah.
First of all, let me back up. My older daughter's a nurse. She's the one that told me about radiation for that. I didn't even know. I'm looking at, invasive surgery, blah, 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 all of that. And I've been dealing
Right.
with, skin cancer over the years, but this was, I let this one go because I had a beard, out of sight, out of mind. So first, my daughter tells me about it. So it's like, all right, there's a reason I believe there, but we'll pass through that. So now I'm getting the treatments. It's every day. There's a lot of other things going on in my life at the time. It's like there are a lot of challenges. and I'm at this person's place, and she walks through the door, and she's like, "Oh my God, your face!" It's like, "Oh wow, let me help you. Let me help you." And she puts gauze on and everything, and I was like being in a third-degree burn. Your face is like dripping off. Um, I didn't realize it at the time, but a few years later, it hit me that she's a nurse. That woman is a nurse,
Oh,
and
wow.
she helped me through that challenging time. And I am completely convinced that's why she was there.
Right.
There's not even a doubt in my
Absolutely.
mind.
Yeah.
Not even a doubt. Because again, there were other things going on in my life at the time, and it was very challenging. And now add this to it, like, how am I going to deal with that? And she was there. So
Right.
there's a reason for it all. We just need to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, and it's both things happen, right? In our moments of need, right? When we needed help. And that's when these people and helpers come into our lives.
Mm,
And a lot of the times, like you said, it's in hindsight when we look back and like, wow, yeah, now I understand that.
right? Right. Understand's a great word. And these are the times, well, we've talked before about asking. And I'm a firm
Right,
believer, and I've got proof, from relatives that have passed, et cetera, et cetera. You ask for a sign, you're going to get it. Got to look for it, like
right,
we're talking about. You're going to get it. Be specific, by the
right,
way. Um, Put that to the side. These are the situations where we're not asking for help. Maybe in our mind, we're throwing it out to the universe. I got to find
right.
my son, or I'm going through, how am I going to do this, man? Like this, whoa. It's not like we're actually asking. It's more of them just showing up. More of them just
Right.
showing up when, to your point, when you need them. When you need them. Uh,
And
Amazing.
yeah, and I think, what I always say, we are never alone. We're never alone. There's
Mm.
always help. If you don't have help in this world from another human being, there is spiritual help. One way or another, it's going to come to you, whether you look for it, whether you want it or not, it's going to show up in your life.
Should we ask?
I think so. I ask all the time. I always though try to first put out the things that I'm grateful for, right? So I kind of like don't like just to ask. I always like to say I'm grateful for this, I'm thankful for this, but it'd be nice if I, had this too.
Right, right. Or, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for this. I'm going through a challenge here, and
Hmm.
I'm grateful if I could get some support. And is it okay just
Right.
to think it, or should you be in a quiet space, or you're driving in a car and verbalize it, or does it matter?
Think it matters. I just think as long as you have it, in you, whether you're thinking about it subconsciously, you're dreaming about it, you're verbalizing, it doesn't matter. It's a part of you, and it'll manifest in one way or another.
You said the word manifest just as I was going to say something very much connected to it. That was weird.
Kick.
That was weird. Um, Final question on that. It's been said again, you said it as I was just going to say these words. It's been said if you're going to manifest that you should believe it's already happening. So
Absolutely.
when, let's say, you have a challenge in your life, you put it out there, you're grateful, but then should you ask for help as if it's already here? And I appreciate your help with me getting through
Right.
this challenge. It's in other words, past tense. I appreciate your help, like it's already happened. Should you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I do it both ways. I've kind of put out my intentions of, what I'd like. And then I, will also do like a mantra, like,
Girl, stop. Stop what you're doing there. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
you were
Stop,
going
stop,
to say
stop.
mantra.
I'm not kidding. And I
Okay.
was gonna this is freaky. I was gonna say to end today, let's try something new, the mantra of the week. And that comes from my vision board. And I put a post-it note on it because somebody said, you know what? When you manifesting in a vision board, use this phrase, show me how good it gets. So I put that out there. I posted that on there. And I was just going to say that question. You said mantra. I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, well, I was going to say vision board because that was next. Because I actually have like I little post-it notes, and again, in the present tense, I will lose weight, or I have lost weight, right?
Right.
That type of like it's already happened. I have sold my house, that type of stuff, right?
And I've got that up here on my vision board, and it's 3 words. Again, I hear these things, and I'm like, hey, whether okay, it is done.
Yeah.
It's already been done. It is done. Um,
Mhm.
Mantra of the week. Maybe something new here. Got one that you can share? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be about manifesting, vision board, whatever. Is there a few words to inspire, to pilot someone, to comfort maybe some of us that are going through something? Anything that resonates for you?
Well, what I actually my mantra that I say when I'm riding my bike in the mornings is I say, I believe, I accept, and I trust.
Hmm.
And basically, it encompasses everything, and that I know that whatever is supposed to be in my life will be mine. Of course, as long as you're doing the work, right? We can't just sit back and expect, the universe to throw things at us. We have to put in the work. So, that's the other side of it. But that's what I do. I believe, I accept, and I trust.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Wow. Um, how do we find you? What's the best way, Connie?
My website is www.meaningfulmessages.info. You could call or text at 941-567-0142.
You're going to be moving in the next 5 months.
Oh, God, I hope so.
I,
I say, I know so. I know so. Yes.
you've mentioned that you were looking at a house the other side of the state, and
Mhm.
I am not psychic. I just share what drops in my head. And I've played with this before. Friends will tell me I can't find my keys. I'm like, it is in your car. No, they're not in my car. I'm telling you right now where they are. Go look. It's there under the
Yep.
seat. Look it, and of course they were. And I just heard within 5 months. I don't know.
Great.
It is done. Thank you so much again for today. Just you are the breath of fresh psychic air, and I
Oh, thank you.
appreciate it. All right, we'll catch up
All
soon.
right.
Okay.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.